The state of Washington is quietly experimenting with a huge financial planning strategy proposal that you need to be aware of whether you live in Washington or not. Let's get into it. My name is Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, the risk of you needing long-term care services at some point in your life is actually quite significant when compared to the other major financial risks that we all face. The risk of you passing away at a young age or early in life, the risk of your house burning down or getting hit by a tornado or some other natural disaster. The risk of you actually needing some sort of long-term care service is actually higher than both of those, quite a bit higher. And so what am I talking about with long-term care services? Nursing home, assisted living, some adult daycare, something like that. And basically needing some assistance later in life or after a surgery or as a result of an illness that you just need assistance to perform regular functions in life. Now, the risk is high, like I mentioned, sadly, that you're going to need some of this care. But to boot, the cost of providing this is astronomical. The cost of hiring the right professionals, nurses, and adult daycare to care for you at all hours of the night or at any random amount of hours during the week, to then transition to assisted living, to memory care if you're dealing with Alzheimer's, like I've had family members and probably most of us have had seen experiences with, or even a nursing home. The cost of providing that care is astronomical and it's been rising significantly. So this is one of the things that insurance is having a hard time. They're having a hard time to manage this risk. Insurance companies that have been offering long-term care services, long-term care insurance, have popped up and then disappeared. There's not many insurance companies that offer long-term care insurance simply because actuaries have had they've done just a terrible time of calculating really what is the premium cost that we should be charging consumers. Is that going to be enough to cover the changing, the evolving, and always adjusting cost of providing this care, basically fulfilling the promise that consumers bought the insurance for? So the insurance industry has had a terrible time coming up with a solution, and so has the government. This was one of the first things thrown out in the Obamacare bill. Originally it was proposed that we're going to help cover this long-term care risk, and they threw it out immediately. I mean, immediate, because the math just didn't work. Lots of states, including my home state, Indiana, back in the late 90s, came out with a partnership program as a way to incentivize, offer some tax benefits, and basically co-op with private insurance companies to incentivize consumers to buy long-term care. Why would they do that? Because if consumers don't buy the long-term care from a private insurance company and they end up going desolate, obviously that is damaging for the state. But in that financial carnage, then those individuals end up on Medicaid, which is paid for by the state, the government. So they started this partnership program. Indiana has the very best partnership plan out there. But again, it's a partnership with private insurance companies. And as private insurance companies are falling away, not offering this as much, we've got a big problem. That was a long lead in. Let's get into it. So what's the solution? The state of Washington has come out with the Washington Cares Fund. That's right, very quietly, at least I haven't heard much about it. Very quietly, the state of Washington is introducing a long-term care insurance policy or insurance protection that's mandatory. Everyone that is working will have this coverage, and you've got to be eligible to use the coverage, okay? You can opt out, but the state has taken the bold stance of saying, listen, we're going to try and solve this, and they've got a program in place. Starts January 1, 2022. So does the tax, by the way. How's this thing work? If you've been participating in the program, which again, it's mandatory, but you can opt out. I'll explain in just a moment. But if you've been participating and you've met the criteria, you're eligible, then the benefit kicks in if you're unable to do 3 out of this list of activities of daily living. Now, I'm focusing on this because for the entire time I've been a financial planner for 20 some years, and I think this has even been in the books before then, the definition of needing long-term care is always unable to do 2 out of 6 activities of daily living. They've redefined it. Now they're saying 3 out of this list of activity of daily living. These are medication management, personal hygiene, eating, toileting, cognitive functioning, transfer assistance, so basically getting out of bed or moving from one chair to another, to a sofa, something like that, body care, bathing, ambulation or mobility, and dressing. So in order to be eligible to use some of this benefit that you're going to be paying for with tax dollars, you've got to be unable to perform 3 out of this list of daily activities. And if you do, then again, the program starts 1/1 of 2022, but due to eligibility, you won't be able to use any of the resources, any of the funds. You won't be able to use this insurance, and I call it that lightly, not until 2025. And if so, then you'd have access to up to $36,500 of insurance benefit or support towards the cost of care. And the cost of care could be paying for someone to help in your house. So they are offering home health care, assisted living, even nursing home, getting some equipment, having home safety evaluations, home delivered meals, memory care, which is a huge one. My father-in-law was battling Alzheimer's for over 6 years before the disease took his life last year, and so that's a huge one to cover. Respite for family caregivers. If a family member is providing the care, then this fund, this $36,500 benefit that you've paid into, would be able to give them a break and help support them as well. Dementia support, education consultation. So lots of benefits that are baked in here, but the big thing that you're going to take away, or that I would take away, is $36,500 of benefit for home health care, assisted living, nursing home, and it includes memory care as well. All right, so who's eligible? Well, you're eligible if you pay the new tax. The new tax is 0.58%, and there's no cap on that. This is going to be part of a new payroll tax that the employee has to pay. The employer does not. The employer does not need to match it, but the employee is mandatorily, you are required to pay this new payroll tax if you work or live in the state of Washington, okay? So to qualify for the benefits from the Washington Cares Fund, you must have worked and contributed to the fund for at least 10 years at any point in your life without a break of 5 or more years within those 10 years, or 3 of the last 6 years at the time you apply for the benefit, which is why the benefit starts, or let's say the program starts 1/1 of 2022, but the first people that would be eligible to make claims against this wouldn't start for 3 years later, okay, 2025. And you have to have at least 500 hours per year of work during those years. There's a calculator right there on this website. So if you're curious, okay, well, I make X amount. What will this new tax be? What will this premium be? What will this cost be? I don't care what you want to call it. It's each of those things, it sounds like. You can see what it is. Fairly reasonable, okay? Fairly reasonable. What if you say, I'm self-employed. I'm not, I don't pay payroll taxes. I don't get a W-2. Well, you can opt out. Okay, so I've got the link here. Go here. You can opt out if you're self-employed. And speaking of opting out, what if you already bought private insurance, or what if you're planning on buying private insurance? You can opt out as well. I actually really love that feature. When I first heard about this, I thought, well, wait a second. What if you've already planned for this? Are you just now having to pay twice, or do you have to drop your existing coverage? No, they thought of that, which is fantastic. However, note that if you opt out, it's permanent. It's permanent. You can't go back. And I've done some videos recently about the growing trends with long-term care and long-term care insurance, and how these prices are going up even if you've had the policy for a long time. Now, the benefits would be much richer than this, most likely. But if you opt out, if you look at this and say, well, I already have coverage, I'm just opting out, just work with your CFP before you make that permanent decision. So do you like it? You know, that's how it works, whether you live in Washington or not, or thinking of a move. Do you like it? There's certain things that I do. Number one, they've stepped into this very difficult space. They took the bold step of saying, we're going to help solve this. I do think this is a human crisis that if insurance companies are having a hard time figuring out how to solve it, I appreciate their efforts of saying, no, we're gonna try and solve this issue, or at least we're gonna try to help. So I appreciate the bold stance that they're taking towards this. I also appreciate that they're letting people opt out, okay? And if you already have coverage in place, you can say, nah, no thanks, this isn't for me. So basically, you've got a safety net option, okay, where you can say, okay, I can get this coverage, or you can go out and buy better coverage or more expensive coverage or different coverage if you want. So I like that choice. I don't know what they're gonna do about pre-existing conditions. So for me, what does this do? The folks that are very, very ill or needing care, all they really need to do is pay into the system for 3 years, and then they're going to get some benefit. Actuarially, I'm not sure how that math works. So I'm bringing this up not because I'm wanting to cut the people that need it out of the system. I'm just wondering, I didn't see anything in here about medical underwriting. And if there's a guarantee issue of this, then early on, you're going to have the people that have the most needs using the service. And I guess, and this points to my greatest concern, actuarially, I hope they've done all the math. I ran some numbers on this, and if you buy your own insurance, and I would call this maybe a Cadillac type plan, a private health insurance, private long-term care insurance, sort of Cadillac type plan, you're probably paying $4,000 a year for premium from age 60 to whenever you pass away. So if that's age 60 to age 90, you're paying $120,000 over that time total in premiums. Well, I did a quick calculation. If you make $40,000 and then it grows to 60 and it grows to 70, and that's your working years, but you're working from say 25 to 65, are you actually paying more for this plan than you would be for private insurance? No, you'd be paying a lot less, now for less benefit, but a lot less. Well, if the need is that great, I just hope the actuaries have figured this out, because the actuaries failed. This experiment failed with Social Security, and it's failed with Medicare. Now, I'm not saying it's failed like those programs are a disaster. No, they were put in motion at a time where there were certain assumptions made about the future. The reality has been very different than those assumptions, and both Social Security and Medicare have failed to adapt. They just haven't adapted with these changing circumstances. And so to me, that's my greatest fear. Have the actuaries done enough analysis? And then because this is treated as a tax on your income, will this be able to adapt as things evolve with the cost or with income or with providing this care? Will this be able to adapt? Typically what I've seen is that a fixed tax law has a hard time adapting to the dynamics and evolving complexities of caring for human beings. And so many things I like, but there's things that I don't. Will this set a precedent for other states? I actually think so, guys. I really do. So don't, I hope you didn't see this video and say, oh, I don't live in Washington, delete or next or whatever. Because I think this could set a precedent. So check this out. Certainly if you live in Washington, check this out. Work with your CPA, and CFP on this. If you don't, though, I would still dig in and look at this and then talk to your certified financial planner. If you're in the 50 to 60 age, you've got to be talking about how you want to manage this risk. I would talk to your CFP. Well, should we be pursuing private insurance? What options do we even have? Do we think our state will offer something like this? And finally, you can always write your local and state representatives. So, all right, well, check this out. As always, work with your CFP. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with a K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.